You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Gearster.
My goodness, you heard it here first, people. That's Wes Johnson, my friends. Yeah, it's the big show. It's always the big show up in here. My goodness.
That karma is a bitch.
Some say it. We're about to find out.
Say that karma is a bitch.
Karma's a bitch if you're a la sign. It's the big show. Oh my goodness. Yeah, here's my friend who stayed in a haunted hotel in San Jose. She didn't know. She didn't know. You know, I would have paid extra. She probably got her money back. Different strokes for different folks. It's a big show. It is the big show. It's the biggest show in the history of the universe. You can't call in. You can't call in because we're not using Blog Talk Radio, but you can chat. I believe I've already got a chat open here. Come to the show at Spreaker.com, and I think you have to go to user Truth on Tap. I'm going to go ahead and share this URL. You actually have to go to Truth on Tap to see the show, and then Syria_Squared. But I'm going to go ahead and share this on Facebook, see if we can get some people to show up here. Because this is going to be an interesting episode, and we may have another one after this. Yeah, so stick with me here for a second. Come listen and chat. All right, you may have heard a couple of other episodes I had on Syria. I am not a Middle East expert. I'm former military. That doesn't entitle me to any special views. I have no experience dealing with Syria, but I pay attention to the news. And I consider myself fairly good in the dissemination of information coming from 100 sources and finding the most accurate view of what's really going on. You know, most of life is like the Matrix, isn't it? You do what you're told, you do what you're programmed for. And you got to get through that. You got to work your way through that. What we've learned so far about Syria, and what I talked about the other day, and I'm not going to go over again unless it comes up specifically, is that there have been some major humanitarian attacks there. And this is on the level of Darfur, okay? And we're going to compare Darfur to Syria again, even though we've already done that. I've got a bit of a hostility building inside me because since the first bullet flew into an innocent person's head there on purpose, not on accident, not as a proximity casualty, but on purpose, I've said we got to do something. We're the biggest country in the world. People will tell you we don't have the resources to help, but we do. And even more importantly, even if they can win their argument about our resources not being high enough to help another country, I can show you where if we don't, it's going to cost us much more. So I'll win that argument one way or the other. I'm going to show you the numbers. But the fact is we have to do something. Forget the humanitarian part of it. If you don't want to be nice, we don't have to be nice, but we got to do something if we're going to protect ourselves. What we do in Syria defines who we are. And it defines it more importantly to Iran and North Korea, but also to the Middle East at large. Did you know that the entire Arab League, 22 nations strong and very strong, they've got Syria right in the middle of their backyard, like a big pile of steaming hot dog shit, and they want something done. They want something done. What a weird situation we're in, aren't we? Because here we have the Middle East asking for our interference. And we've got a couple of our allies saying, we aren't helping you. Who the hell threw up all these mirrors and turned on the smoke machine? Because it's pretty confusing to the average guy. Here's where the caveat comes in. The problem has to do with trust. Not just American trust of America, but global trust of America. After what got us into Iraq, regardless of whether or not you believe it was a justifiable war or not, we went in on the premise that was a lie. We went in on very, very bad intelligence that was from the top downward directed to be gathered. In other words, find me a reason to get into Iraq. That's how it came down to the people. They've admitted that. They didn't say names, but they've admitted that. And you can do the work there in your head, okay? Bush wanted to go into Iraq. It wasn't for oil. I really hate to hear people say that. It's such an easy conspiracy theory. If it was for oil, you wouldn't be paying $3.50 a gallon right now. It was not for oil. We're not getting any benefit out of there. We might have a little bit of business interest and investments over there, but that's it. We're not going in and saying, we take all oil, you not get any. We take it back to U.S. and we live free and easy. It doesn't really work that way. Not with us. Now there may have been other countries, like when Saddam Hussein went into Kuwait, where that was the exact plan, and I believe he announced that plan. That's not what we do. There are some backdoor business deals. There are some very high income people in controlling positions that certainly benefit off of war. We know this. The military-industrial complex is built of individuals. The military-industrial complex is built of small contractors and small businesses and medium and big businesses, but especially billionaires, that 1%. They're in it. They like it. They want war. They make money. It is. It's a boon to any economy, war. It gets people fired up and want it. If you can get the people involved, it's a huge move for business. Think about World War II. It hasn't changed since. So there are legitimate economic interest in going to war. As always, we will look at motives before we discuss why something is or is not happening. I'm trying to get people involved here from Facebook. I'm going to go over with you a bit of a discussion we had earlier, and they all have excellent points. I'm not here to tell anybody they're wrong. It's not my thing. I got a good friend named David who believes we should not be over there. He's got his reasons. He's probably got a lot of the same reasons that the British have and why they voted no. We're going to talk about that as well. This radio station, this DJ console that I'm on here for Spreaker, is rather clunky to me. I have not gotten used to it. This is something I switched over to in a jam because I had promised to continue a radio show that I could not continue because Blog Talk Radio took up my entire time slot. I was supposed to get 2 hours a day. They only gave me 1 hour, so I literally could not schedule another show. It wouldn't let me in to do it. So that really got under my skin because I had people waiting for that one. I had people that were going to call in for that one to help co-host. So that got under my skin. So we're probably going with Spreaker from here on out. I'm not making any promises, but it's smooth. I'm using a nice USB headset microphone that actually sounds good, even on low quality, which it is right now, over a terrible, terrible dial-up connection. The only thing is you can't take regular phone calls in. You got to get into some tricks and some coding and some Skype and all that. So just to let you know where we are from a technical aspect there. Let's get into this. I'm gonna read to you some of the comments that were made on this status that I put out there. From my friends, and I'm just going to use first names for now because I don't know if they want to be necessarily known for their political views at this point to an unknown, broader audience, and I can respect that, of course. Let me get to my profile. Everybody knows that the president retains a limited amount of power, even if Congress says nay. Will he use it? I actually am of the heart that I don't think so. I think any good president says, what do my people want? And when you want to know what your people want, you go to their representatives and you hope like hell that those representatives have been listening to their people. It's all you've got. You can't talk to 300 million others. You can talk to 100. You can talk to 100 senators and say, how your people feeling? What are we going to do here? What do they want me to do? That's what you do. Everybody thinks the president is a boss. He's not a boss. He is the representative. He is supposed to be a patchwork of your country. He is the face of your country. He has a very limited scope of power. So to see people attack him left and right for what he's done and hasn't done, it's funny to me. It's funny to me. And it's the same thing with George Bush. There's only so much a president can do. They're not capable of doing all the chaos that people claim that they do. It's ridiculous. But so here we go. I posted this status. And it said, crazy how, quote, brand new, unquote, this Syria business is all of a sudden. David and I, a friend of mine, were debating this insanity forever ago. I'm still sticking to my guns at this time. Gotta do something meaningful. No limited strike, preferably multinational, unquote. That was my status. Now, I got some comments here. My friend Matt said, I'm amazed that it finally broke through into the news that was going down with Miley Cyrus crap. and he agrees with going to the UN and getting that wide support. Strike force would be best. My friend Joe came on and said, why are people against this? Now, that's pretty much the question I posted to the comments section of a BBC article that talked about the UK voting this down. I was missing something, and that's what I said. I said, what am I missing? Last time I looked, 10-year-old boys were getting gang raped by Assad's regime. Fact. It's there. You just look it up. Mothers are cooking dinner for their babies and being shot in the head. Okay. First graders trying to cross the street, sniper bullet takes their head off. This is okay? How is this okay? What do we do? What do we do? A limited strike is not the answer. I'd almost rather do nothing than a limited strike, because what that says in context is punch and run. You didn't hurt them. Yeah, I mean, they're bending over a little bit. They're holding their stomach, but they're still going to keep being who they are. So you've either got to get in there and do something very meaningful, or don't do anything at all. Don't do something that's meaningless and symbolic. Forget that. We need effect. If you're a Syrian person in a neighborhood right now that has taken, say, 10 shells over the last month, how are you feeling about life right about now? You're a hard worker. You're an auto mechanic. You feed your family of 5, your wife and 3 children. You're a religious person. You're always, trying to help your neighbor in any way you can. But there's a howitzer going off every time you look around, and you got a neighbor with his body in 15 pieces. And you're going, wow, he must have really misbehaved. Wait a minute, he didn't do anything. It's just the government killing us. It's just the government killing us. Well, at least he didn't get gang raped yet. How's that kind of life feeling to you? When you know there are a few high powers out there that could come in and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, we're not having this. This is going to stop right this minute. All you have is a Ba'ath Party repeat of Iraq here when it comes to the way that power is consolidated and being exercised in Syria. It is no different than Saddam Hussein did with his, I guess you would call them minions, and going and rounding up innocent folks and setting them on fire and shocking them for information and killing anybody that was in the opposition of any type, not just major opposition. That's what's going on. That's what's going on in Syria. That's not okay, and it shouldn't be okay. And it's funny that things only got real when chemicals were used. If a conventional bomb had killed twice as many people, this would be getting half as much coverage. Ask yourself how much sense that makes. It's also funny that Syria is suddenly getting way more attention than Fukushima. Fukushima has hardly gotten any attention in the United States. I don't get that at all. I mean, 15,000 people dead over that already. 100 years of cleanup to do at best. If we contain now, we overestimated the Japanese's ability to contain this. They were proud people. They didn't want to admit they needed help. They needed help. We should have been all over that, but we weren't. And now it's spread. And now we got a problem that is going to be no easy solution to. However, compared to Syria, we can get in right now, start saving lives right this second, and take care of business. Is it expensive? Hell yeah, it's expensive. You know what it costs to move one troop over into a war zone and keep him alive? Multiply that times a couple 100,000 and you're looking at what we're looking at. It's expensive, but when you don't do it, the price comes back tenfold against you in every way. And the way you're respected, and the way you're viewed by the United Nations, and the way your major competition in the form of other strong countries assesses your ability to both take care of yourself and your allies and defend yourself. Everything starts changing. Your rank in the world view begins to drop. Your people's willingness to trust you when you say anything begins to fade, and you become a non-entity, especially if you fall financially. So when you have the power, you do what you can to help people, or it's going to come back and get you. And if it doesn't get you, it's going to get your kids. So be thinking about that. Maybe boots on the ground isn't the answer. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe a limited military strike is not the answer. I don't think it is. I think it's got to be bigger than that. So I'm going to go ahead and read something, and this is something Dave just said. He says, I better give you a little bit of background on what he said. He basically is against this. He doesn't think we need to be. He sees us kind of as the world police, and a lot of people see us that way. I see how we got that reputation, and I don't like having it. I don't think we need to meddle in other people's business. But when people are being slaughtered, it is our very obligation to meddle, in my view. He says, and this is about halfway down in these comments on that status I told you about. He says, I stand behind my own position that before we head off to, quote, fix, unquote, the rest of the world's problems and injustices, we need to fix our own first. We think we're the world's police force, but we come off as bullies and hypocrites, particularly when we don't finish the job. Every time we get involved in another nation's problems, billions of dollars and thousands of lives get wasted, while the rest of the world's hatred for us grows. Does he have a point? Do you agree with that? My friend Joe says, in response to that comment, David, we shouldn't care about the world's problems. I agree. But if I was walking down the street and saw a mother beating the hell out of her kid and setting her on fire, I wouldn't just turn my back and say, I have enough of my own problems to deal with and not get involved. There are lines that you don't cross, and using chemical weapons on your own people, including children, is the line. I followed up with, for your intellectual digestion, I think there are some wars you can't afford not to fight. War money spent doesn't directly affect what's available at home. We don't start kicking people out of homeless shelters to pay for bullets. All kinds of credit systems are at work, so you have to ask, if we do nothing, how much will that cost? Will history say, there, quote, there. 300 years ago, the U.S. had more than enough resources and power to stop children from being picked off and gang raped by al-Assad's regime. They had petty cash on hand that would have stopped mothers who were committing no crime except cooking dinner for their children from bursting into flames as a shell hit their home and took out half their block. That's not my America. I don't want to be a part of that America. It's not right. Thankfully, I think Congress and the President will agree, as will most of our reasonable allies. I understand the UK's no vote. I can only blame our past behavior for that vote, not the Brits. And I stand by that. I understand why they voted no. My friend Matt then says, a great man once said, in order for evil to win, all that is needed is for good men to stand by and do nothing. That's important here. I think that kind of sums this up. You know, there are deeper issues here. There are much deeper issues, and I'm just going to touch on them because I have time, but I'm not going to do it right yet. We're going to keep going down these comments. You know, Dave came back after we had all aired our views and said, I understand what you all are saying, and yes, my stance comes off as cold-hearted, but I stand by it. If Obama keeps his promise that this won't become a ground invasion with our foot soldiers coming under direct fire, then I'm actually leaning towards supporting it, but I'm not buying it. No boots on the ground, I call bullshit. Sure, it will begin as an air-only assault because they always begin that way, but I have no doubt it will eventually become a ground troop occupation because they all end up that way. He actually gave me a huge thought there, and I can't remember what it was, so I'm hoping it comes to me. But we're going to keep going there. It says, he says, and correct me if I'm wrong. I may be wrong because I don't keep very close tabs on world news. Anyway, wasn't there some shit like this going down a couple years ago? I recall Syria or maybe another nation in the region committing atrocities on its own people. I don't know. I don't know if he's talking. I don't know if he's talking about something that happened in Iran, or maybe he was actually thinking of Syria there. But anyway, it says, Kevin, I think this may even be the heart of the debate we had that you first spoke of. Anyway, where was Obama then? I tell you where he was. He was in his first term. Ever since Korea, going to war is very unpopular with the American public. Sending troops anywhere during a first term automatically makes winning a second term extremely difficult. Asked George Herbert Walker Bush. Even with an act as blatantly calling for retaliation as 9/11 terrorist attacks, George W. Bush barely won a second term. Many even claimed that the election was rigged. I believe that if the Democratic candidate wasn't a limp noodle like Al Gore, that Bush would have lost decisively. If this were still Obama's first term, I doubt the word Syria would even leave his lips. I'm not going to argue with any of that. It's, you know, I'm giving you the views. I will first say I fully agree that this has not been getting enough attention, and neither has Fukushima for that matter. These are both critical issues, and we're hearing about Miley Cyrus's smelly foam finger. I can live without that. Could you? I could live with something a little more meaningful. I mean, everybody has their entertainment interest. I get that, but you're talking about some pretty serious stuff here, and what happens is it's inconvenient. And it's funny that Dave mentioned Al Gore, because Al Gore made a documentary called An Inconvenient Truth. And actually, his data was very accurate in that documentary. He's not a scientist, he admits that. But the scientists are now 97% in agreement with him on the claims that he made there, which is that the carbon levels are rising quickly. They are higher than they have been in at least 15,000 years, and maybe for the past 10 million years. I think they go way back with these core samples from the ice in Antarctica and things of that nature. We got to do something because we know what the carbon does to the atmosphere. And when you start looking at the domino effects, it's worse than disaster. You're talking about climate refugees into the hundreds of millions, economies collapsing because of that, all-out war. It could go a million different ways. Half the species on Earth disappearing within a 20-year period. These are things that could happen. I'm not saying they're going to happen. I'm not trying to be a doomsday prophet here, but things you got to watch out for. Things you got to take halfway seriously. We don't want to know, do we? Because now it means we got to change the way we live, and nobody likes change, do they? Nobody likes change. It's work. It's work to change. You got to, oh man, I was just comfortable in this lifestyle. Now I got to do that. What do you mean I got to recycle? Why do I got to use blue bags? You know, it's change is painful that way. It's an adjustment, and it's constant, and it's something we just need to accept as a part of life because we're learning every day. And when you learn, you're readjusting the the full paradigms within which you live. So how about this Syrian thing? It's painful when you look at it. When you start imagining being in their situation, you see the pain. You understand that pain. You don't ever want to be them, do you? Poor them. If we don't help them, hope they make it. Anyway, I got to go out and, I got to go out and get a new CD because this new band I like has put out a CD. I need to go get that. And what do you mean children are being gang raped? I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. That's their problem. They'll fix it. Not in this case. In this case, they can't. They can't fix their own problem. They need help. What we need to do, in my view, I believe, is maybe start off with some air operations, but before we even do that, get some guarantees, even if they're backdoor guarantees, but in writing, from other nations, allies, that they're going to create huge contributions, whether financial, weaponry, or boots on the ground, to a UN effort to stop this crisis. That's what needs to happen for it to work effectively and last. There will be a remaining UN peacekeeping force after the fact. This may take a couple of years to sort out, and they will hold the peace until an adjustment is made. And don't start telling a country which form of government to use. You let them use their own form of elections. You don't tell them, you got to be a Democrat. No, you let them choose whether they want to be, a republic or a democracy, which are actually different. It's not our business to tell them how to run their government. It should be our business to help innocent people not be slaughtered. I hear references made back to World War II and what happened in 1945 over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I would just ask, when you think about that, consider what happened on December 7th, 1941 first. No, it wasn't targeting civilians, although civilians were killed, especially if they were involved in the war effort. It was a surprise attack in a war that we were not involved in. And we were slaughtered by the thousands right there on a nice weekend in Hawaii with no notice. So you weren't there. You're not feeling that anger. All you're hearing is, we dropped a bomb on civilians. How terrible. I think most of us feel some guilt over that. But when you look at the anger that was felt then, calculate also in the number of lives that would have been lost invading the Japanese mainland, calculations that in my belief were very accurate, you almost have no other choice based on the technology we had at that time. So, yeah, it's a tough issue, but You know, we're in a situation now where if we don't do something, the price is going to be phenomenal. This I can promise you. Watch it play out. We should have already been in Syria. I believe this with all my heart. We should have been in the first time an innocent person fell in the neighborhood, because you have the very rare situation of an official UN recognized government attacking its own people. You have a government so bad that the Arab League kicked them out of the Arab League. Do you know how nasty you have to be to get kicked out of the Arab League? They are voted at the worst, the lowest 5, I think, in the world for human rights violations. Syria is a problem. Syria is a problem that must be dealt with. I'm going to let this go at a half hour. We don't have a lot of chat going on. And I think I've said about everything I can say on Syria if you count the last 3 episodes total. However, there will be changes and adaptations if it goes the way I think it will, which will be the limited strike going on and then the huge UN support coming after. Then I won't have anything else to say about it. Let's get it done. It's got to get done. If we don't do anything, we're going to have a lot to talk about, because I'm going to start predicting how that comes back to us and how we're going to field those balls when they come. I'm going to end, as I always do, with a Bad Ace song here. And this one today I'm picking is Kelly. Kelly by Bad Ace. And I just want to thank you for listening to Truth on Tap. This has been your host, Kevin Kierstead. Tune in Tuesdays and Fridays, maybe on Blog Talk Radio, probably will be on Spreaker. Showtime's usually around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will talk to you again soon. See ya. Peace.
She took me down screaming, but my mind, I was only dreaming. Can't help but stand, and then you pushed me down. When I gave you my hand, that was over, and I'm a little bit colder. Oh, now sometimes a man don't know what a woman can do till the tail breaks through when it's over, and he's a little bit colder. Oh, now everybody's got their mother, she got to shout out, baby, but I might be crazy, but I really do believe you're lying when you say there ain't no use in trying. To get out to get it, I can see that you're never gonna get it. Oh, can't you just give me a minute? Can't you see that I'm trying to be an idiot? Can't you let me hang and then you cut me down when the whistle sang you another name? And it was a whole new game now. Oh, now it's time to take your tall tales and leave them at the tracks, 'cause the train don't slow for you and me. And I'm a westbound man, I've got to catch my ride. All right. Destination, think I need a permanent vacation. Hold up on another revelation in the lobby of a cold concrete steel station. Oh, now maybe I'm a loser. Maybe all my tears amuse you. Oh, but that don't mean a thing now. Everybody's gotta love it somehow. So don't look for me no more. I was gone 10 minutes for you slammed the door.